I think YouTube made you had to like cancel and start a new video to change that before, so at least that's better.
Okay, it's receiving content.
Video to change that.
Okay, so I think we're live.
Better.
Okay, it's receiving content.
I'll refresh. I have the stream up in the background, so
Yeah.
Divisive. When I say that word in the context of a show.
yeah, for me it still says we're not receiving data from your encoder.
Okay, for me it's saying live. Stream health
Okay.
is good.
Okay.
But I'm not.
Yeah, it's not up yet.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
We're generally live, but there we go. Now it's just live now. Cool. I don't think I've hit the generally go live button, but
Okay.
there we
I need to change it from saying. It should save because I changed the basic info, like the name of it.
No, it's just oh god. Interesting. I don't know. I think we might not be live on the.
This video is unavailable. What the fuck?
I think we might not be live on the event.
We aren't.
We're just live on YouTube. It's so helpful.
But I don't even know if we're live on YouTube now.
Yeah, we're live privately.
How? Oh,
Try
okay.
it.
Public. Link to YouTube.
But I think once we go live, it'll go live on the event.
I believe we should be live now, I think. I unchanged it from private. Do I have to restart it because okay. Looks like I think we're actually fucking live, folks. Do I have to restart?
I'm still waiting for it to come up
Okay.
on the actual event
Looks like
page, but
I think
I think we're at the
actually
very
fucking
least
live,
live.
folks.
People can see us. Yeah, it says we're live in the right place.
Are we live on the event?
I don't know.
No. Okay, so it doesn't look like we're live on the...
YouTube broke. We broke YouTube. I think it's safe to say.
Something. So it's like we're not live on the event, but we're live on the main page, like our main page.
But the main page has the name of the event.
Yeah. I'm all sorts of confused.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I think we're live. I directed people toward
Yeah, we'll just
the right link.
keep watching main chat, I guess.
Once everybody moves over, we can get started. I think we broke YouTube.
Three best friends. Hey, Matt's here. Welcome, Matt. Yeah,
Hey, Matt.
Stupid event. I like the premise of the event. I do not like the execution of the event.
Not great. I'm sorry, everyone. for the confusion. Don't worry about like entering or anything. We'll make sure we take care of you in that regard. But we are, at the very least, we're live.
Yeah, so
So we should
we're
probably get
there.
started. Yeah, we
We're
should
there.
probably get started.
Yeah, definitely.
It only took us 11 minutes.
Yeah, that's not good.
Sorry, Scott. You and me, us against the world of Terrica Lumerez. It's all right.
We got
made it.
this.
Do you wanna like helm the ship, or do you want me to? We should have discussed that probably.
I think I can. Rock, paper, scissors.
Sure.
Okay, are we doing rock, paper, scissors, shoot?
Shoot. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a heathen.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Damn it.
Okay.
Oh, you, bud.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to Alex and I's special Tales of Vesperia discussion and review live stream cast, because we both absolutely love this game. So we thought, hey, we'll do something fun for this. So, yeah, Tales of Vesperia. Alex, let's start off. Where did you first play Tales of Vesperia? Like, what's your history with the game?
Let me take you back to 2008. A year I remember ever so fondly, Scott.
Yeah.
I was a youngin'. I was a child, one might say. 2008, I was 15. Sorry if that makes you feel old. You're young and beautiful in my heart, and don't you ever think otherwise. I was 15. I was in high school, and let me tell you about this great video game rental service called GameFly. I think GameFly was like a weird interim time in my life where I experimented with a lot of different video games.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say Tales of Vesperia was one of them. I had just gotten a 360 to play Gears of War 2. And I was kind of like on the heels of like really falling in love with JRPGs. I would later, the next year, I think like maybe the end of 2008 into 2009, I would play Persona 3. But I wasn't quite there yet, so I rented Tales of Vesperia off of GameFly. And I do this thing where like I think back to like, man, there was this game I played once that I really liked. I don't remember the name of it. For me, that was Tales of Symphonia, which I love.
Yeah.
Played on the GameCube. Like, that was a game, it was probably like 3 years prior that I had played it, and it was like, I actually went to friends' houses, we like did the multiplayer, we beat the game together. It was like a whole thing. That's like a 60-hour game.
That is a long one.
So like when I'm searching the RPG section, because I'm looking for like a nice meaty game, I see Tales of Vesperia, and I'm like, oh, Tales of, maybe this is related. Do a little Google searching, see that it is. Cool. Let me try this out. I absolutely fell in love with this game. Fun fact about that, I still have the original save file on my 360 of when I played it through the very, very first time, which is awesome.
So good.
And I would go back and rent it from GameFly a year and a half later again to play through it. Because I never bought the game because I didn't have any money. I was a poor child. And I loved it so much, and I wanted to go back through it. And I discovered way more secrets that second time through. And at that point, that's when I learned about the whole PlayStation 3 version of the game.
Yeah.
When did your Tales of Vesperia journey start?
I had my first real experience with the Tales. The first time I had played a Tales game is I rented Eternia or Destiny 2 in the States back on PlayStation 1, long time ago, from a video store, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. And then when Tales of Symphonia came out for the GameCube, I rented that and then just kept re-renting it until I beat it, and I fell in love with Tales and the series in general. And then from there, with Legendia, especially Abyss, absolutely loved Abyss. I just became hooked on the series. So when I picked up a used 360 from my local GameStop that I was working at, and Vesperia was coming out, and I pre-ordered it and picked it up day one, and immediately fell in love with the game. It was the first Tales game that I picked up on day one, that after I had finally, like, it was just so good. Like, all the characters and the voice acting, everything about it was amazing, and it was one of the first big RPGs for that generation of systems. I don't think we had Lost Odyssey yet.
No, not quite yet, I don't
but
think.
it so perfectly captured the anime aesthetic and look, which was still like mind-blowing at the time.
Even still, like the watercolor art style of this game.
This
like,
game aged crazy good.
Yeah.
The visuals and everything of it so good.
Yeah. The only thing about, I would say, like the way it looks that has not aged well is like all the mouth movements are like
Yeah.
which is really funny, honestly.
A bit old school mouth flaps.
Yeah. But like there's like really good facial expressions in this game that like I feel like you can. So the definitive edition has new camera angles for a lot of cutscenes, which I totally didn't know about before going into it. But they emphasize some of like the more facial reactions characters have, and some of that stuff's like genuinely very good. So, yeah, it's funny. Tales is the series that brought us together.
It is, yes.
Obviously, it holds a special place in my heart because of that. When we were both playing Tales of Berseria.
Yeah.
On your you last year you played through all of the Tales games.
Yes, all 14 localized Tales games I played through and streamed through again. Yeah, that was an experience.
Where does Vesperia rank?
Ooh, top 2.
Top 2. What's the other one?
Berseria. Abyss is up there as well. Berseria, Abyss, and Vesperia are my top 3.
Berseria has the benefit of being like a very different story, and also like it plays super well. It plays like a modern video game, like front to back, as opposed to like this game doesn't really pick up until about halfway through, I think, mechanically.
Yeah, once unlocking some of the mechanics, like the over limits, took a little time till you could really start, I feel, busting out like crazy fucking combos. But once you could, so rewarding. But
yeah, because man, we maybe we can get into it. The way that the combat changes from beginning to end of this game is really really cool. So.
Yeah, the combat has aged incredibly well. Like having replayed all the Tales games last year, it was a very interesting experience to see how far the combat has evolved and been refined over that time.
Yeah, and this is the last Tales game with this linear action style, which this style is used for pretty much all of like the PS2 era games, like Legendia, Symphonia, and Abyss.
Yeah, Legendia was a bit different though because it went back to the single plane, like the 2D perspective. Where this one refined Abysses. I think this perfected the system that Abyss started. Because even in Symphonia, it was a 3D battlefield, but it was still only on a single plane, basically.
Yeah. And it's cool, like, because I went back and played Symphonia when they remastered it. And it's interesting how that combat system doesn't hold up in a lot of ways, I would say. Yeah. Like it's very samey, like front to back, and this game like evolves so thoroughly as you play it. It's very cool.
This is a very good game to be introduced to the series, I feel like, because it does a lot of things that some of the older games... It's the best of the old systems. Yeah. Symphonia, I still love Symphonia, but it hasn't aged as well, and I have a lot harder time recommending that as like a first stepping off point of the series, just because it hasn't aged as well in terms of gameplay. I still love the story. I think the story is still fantastic, though.
Yeah, I think some of the voice acting in Symphonia also kind of sticks out. Yeah, it's very good. I love it though.
Robin, man, Robin from Teen Titans.
Oh yeah, so good.
So good. But we're here for Vesperia, so let's talk about the definitive edition goodness.
What I want to do here, Scott, I want to get the bad stuff out of the way first. Let's talk about the voice acting.
Oh yeah,
because it's. I mean, it's the thing is, and my post, I have like a kind of critical feature of Vesperia that'll probably go up today. Yeah. Where I talk about it a lot.
IrrationalPassions.com. Be sure to check it out.
Check it out. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, click the notification bell.
Ring that bell, baby. But I don't know if you read over that piece yet, but it's not just I spent a lot of time talking about it because it's so the thing is if you didn't notice it, it'd be whatever, but I don't think there's any way to play this game without like completely noticing it.
Yeah. My issue isn't so much with the people they got to do the voices, it's how they handled the voices.
Yeah, like switching back and forth in a single cutscene happens a lot in this game.
Yes, it's the switching back and forth that bothers me. I would have much rather had, like, I love Troy Baker and the rest of the original cast, and ideally, in the best universe, in the best world, the best timeline, everyone would come back, reprise their roles, everything.
But the sad thing is, a lot of people did come back, but they just sound like different people now.
Yeah. They're like Rita. The voice actress for Rita doesn't quite pull off Rita anymore. Like just the tone and inflection, and I don't blame her for that. It's just been so long, but the straight up changing of voice actors and then flip flopping drives me nutty. I'd rather just get a whole new cast or completely redub all the lines. Period.
Yeah, I mean, like, because you think about the success story of something like this is Persona 4 Golden, right? Where it's like, hey, we had to change 2 voice actors. Teddy and Chie are going to be different, but we are going to redo all the VO in the game, which is what that game did. Which is crazy, to be fair, because like that's another like Troy Baker joint, and they sat him down and had him do another 90+ hours of dialogue or whatever. But it shows, and I think Golden like is a really polished game because of that. Like the lines that were weird before have been redone, and it's it's like a best case scenario. This is the worst case scenario. And it's not just like the voice acting, which switch. It's a lot of new voice actors, some returning voice actors. Like, I was surprised, like, the guy who plays Raven comes back. He sounds different, but I think, like, he's the closest.
Yeah.
The guy who plays, like, Alexei, who's, like, one of the main kind of characters in the game.
Commandant.
Commandant Alexei, of course. He comes back, and he's, like, the one guy that sounds exactly the same, which is great.
It's his... he just is... That's just his normal voice.
That's just what his talking voice is.
The suave, and it's like...
so deep, yeah. But, like... It's the sound mixing on a lot of stuff is also very bad. Like the skits with new voice acting are not mastered at all, it sounds like. So it's not normalized. It's very like tingy and kind of like treble heavy. And there's no bass and it sounds weird. And then you go to a normal skit and it's clear like normalization's been done, all the audio's been bumped up, it sounds even throughout the whole thing. It's like, man, like the mixing on this is just it feels like it was thrown together very, very quickly. And it's funny too because like the old skits that have the new characters in it with some new lines of VO sound better, so like some kind of audio sampling was probably applied to all of them in general, and it just wasn't applied to the new skits, the new VO. Of course, none of this applies to you at all if you play it with Japanese. So if maybe you're coming into this for the first time, it might be the better way to do it because essentially, for folks who don't know, the definitive edition is a remaster of the PS3 version of this game, which only ever came out in Japan in 2009. The initial release of Tales of Vesperia was 2008 or 2007, I think it actually was. It's one of the two. And so when they did the PS3 version in Japan that added all the new content, they just had all the voice actors still because it was only like 2 years later. 10 years later,
people's change.
It's almost like they should have done this years ago.
It's all... Man, if only the Tales fan base had like asked Bandai Namco to localize it, right?
Literally begged for it for years. Somebody started a fan translation for people with old PS3s so that
it actually got completed, that fan translation. Sorry about the dog, everybody. There's people shoveling outside, and my dog is flipping crazy.
Woof, woof, woof.
I'm gonna mute myself and just talk, Alex.
I gotcha. So yeah, I think like a lot of the kind of baggage that comes through with this definitive edition, specifically all the VO stuff, it sucks because it mostly comes through because this came out 10 years later. And that's a huge bummer for folk like you and me, Scott, have known about this version. I've waited years to play this. I have the PS3 version of Tales of Vesperia somewhere on the shelf behind me. And I bought it and I tried to play it, but I'm bad. I can't do it. All right. I can't play games in Japanese.
No, I feel you. I have the import versions of Exilia and Zesteria for PS3, and Destiny, the Destiny PS2 remake, and Tales of Rebirth, and Tales of Tempest, and Tales of Innocence, all imported, because I always kept convincing myself, I can do this. I'll just read a guide, and it's like it never works out.
Yeah, I try. Like I had a guide open. I'll tell you, I got to when you meet Patty for the first time in
that's right out the man. That's Rago's Manor.
Yeah, I got right there, and I was like, I can't do this. Like that's like 6-7 hours into the game. It is not an insignificant amount of the game, but it's just like the menus, especially, were what killed me.
Oh yeah.
I have an old PS3. I considered sending it to someone so that way they could jailbreak it for me so I could download this translation. This is how committed I was to this. That's how much I love Tales of Vesperia. Then they announced the definitive edition. I was like, fuck it. I'll wait.
Yeah. That I had considered it for a long time, importing it just for that reason, because I've played the Absolute Zero. They're the translation group that did the Vesperia translation. And I've played their Tales of Fantasia for PlayStation 1 translation, and that was fantastic. And I've also played their Tales of Innocence for the DS translation, which was fantastic as well. So I can only imagine that the PS3 version is equally as amazing, but I'm just glad we finally got all this stuff over here.
Yeah, regardless of like how this shakes out, and I'm sure there are a lot of new players that are going to try and play it in English, and they're going to be frustrated with how it sounds. They might even like stop playing because of it. I think the quality of this game like shines through above anything else.
Very much so. And
it is still worth it. And I'm about 51 hours in on my current playthrough. I haven't been able. I would normally have finished it for this, but just like Kingdom Hearts came out, and I have a Resident Evil podcast. I got to do that. Yeah. But regardless, I think you can sit down and have just a phenomenal time with this game if you're willing to kind of look past the voice acting, even if you play it in English. So
yeah, and I think from what I've heard and from talking with people that haven't played the original, they don't notice the voice swapping as much, it seems.
Yeah.
So I think that won't be as big of a deal for them. But having grown up with all the original voice cast, it's much more noticeable, I think, to people that have played it. But it's like you said, the story, the mechanics, just the overall feel of it is still very, very polished, and it feels very good to play. And there's so much good about it that I can definitely overlook it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where like our compatriot Quentin Hoffman is playing it, and he's like totally new to it. He noticed the VO, but like he's really enjoying it regardless, and he's having a great time with it, which is great. That was a great feeling for me. But yeah, I don't know. It's on Switch, so like really there's no excuse.
Yeah, I picked it up for PS4 and for Switch. I got both because I wanted the trophies and I wanted the portability.
Yeah. Every day I have to stop myself from buying it a second time on Switch. And I know at this point I'm just going to do it at some point.
It's on sale right now.
All right, I'll do it. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
I bought it on Xbox One. I've been playing it there. And that's been because I got that hashtag brand loyalty. Phil Spencer's check cashed, and I was like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not real. It's a joke. It's a joke. But that was like I played it on 360. Obviously it's weird because like this game is like on the island that is the Xbox 360. Like I feel like most JRPG players would have played it if it was on PS3. It would have done better in the US if it was on PS3. Maybe not during the time that it released. It was still like when the PS3 was not doing well, but it's it's one of those. It comes from an era where Microsoft was like, we want Japanese made games on our console. We'll give you money, whatever you need. Please publish this.
It was that like 3-year period where the 360 was getting all of the JRPGs, and Sony wasn't.
Yeah, Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, all the good stuff.
Infinite Undiscovery, Enchanted Arms.
Even I think did Eternal Sonata come to 360?
Yes, it was originally on 360,
and then it came to PS3 later. So yeah, like there's a whole swath of them, and Vesperia, I think, in my opinion, having only played it out of all of those games, is the best one.
Lost Odyssey, fucking fantastic. Just saying.
Maybe I gotta check it out. It's getting remastered, right?
No, it's on backwards compatibility on Xbox One. They had released when they did the whole Xbox One backwards compatibility thing. You could actually get Lost Odyssey for free. That was one of the first things, like, to celebrate it. You could get that for free. Definitely worth a pickup. It's a turn-based RPG. It's not a action RPG like Tales is, but still so good. And the fact that they never made a Lost Odyssey 2 still breaks my heart a bit. But what do you think of in the original game? We only briefly got to play as Flynn. What do you think of having Flynn as your main party now and Patty, the new pirate girl?
What I like the most is how much going into this, I actually didn't know how much stuff was new, right? Like, I didn't know what they added. I knew they added Patty and Flynn. That was it. What I like is how they contextualize those characters in your party, and how they become like a vehicle to deliver you more story about the world overall. Like, you learn a lot more about the guilds because Patty is in your party, and that is really, really cool because that's the thing, like, the kind of history of this world we don't really know about going off of the first game, and I like that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the kind of timeline being a little bit mysterious and like it very much seems like a world where like things happened not that long ago on another part of the world and nobody knows about it, right? Like, that information has been suppressed by the government. like there was a war 10 years ago and actually no one knows what happened during it,
but it was a pretty big deal, we think. But
it was a big deal, maybe, probably, and a lot of people died. And I like that having these characters, like, we'll get to another part of it, but having these characters really fleshes out the world in a way. Like, you learn about this kind of oppression of the guilds when you first meet up with Patty and how that kind of links into Ifrid, which links into her whole backstory. She's the granddaughter of this guild member and this pirate from long ago. And then Flynn, like, they change his character to fit him making more sense in the party. And I was worried that, like, because I think the Flynn character is very good, and the dynamics between him and Yuri is obviously very good. They don't compromise that. They just kind of make it make sense why he would join your party at certain points, versus in the original game, he would just go off and do his own thing. Yeah.
One thing, in terms of speaking just real quickly on Yuri and Flynn specifically, what I really appreciated, what I noticed this mostly when I went and replayed it last year, and it's sticking out more with me this time as well with replaying it and having Flynn in my party more, is I love that their personalities and how they kind of mirror each other, or like the shadow each other, like yin and yang, goes so far, not only in just how their character, like their dialogue, but in their character designs. Like, with the homages to like the sun pattern on Flynn's armor and the bright white, things like that. While with Yuri, it's the dark purples, the blacks, and the moon shape, stuff like that. How in the character design themselves, it's their shadow. It's just brilliant.
It's so good. It's because, like, you look at those two characters, anytime they're on screen together, they literally look like polar opposites. And I love it because, obviously, what I love, a kind of theme of this game is that Yuri is the antagonist of the JRPG that you would play, and Flynn is the protagonist of like previous Tales games or like your kind of stereotypical JRPG story. But in this game, you get to play as Yuri. You get to play as kind of like the bad guy, quote unquote. but you can totally see the other game where you're playing as Flynn, you're rising up through the ranks, you find out about corruption, you try to stop it, and then you fight Yuri at the end. Kind of like the relationship in Tales of the Abyss with I don't remember their names at all. But
Luke.
Ash and Luke. Yeah. Like the kind of dynamic between them is very similar here, but it's I think it's done way better. And like you said, there's just such a tonal juxtaposition between the two, and a visual one as well. Like stylistically, they like Flynn's got this bright blonde hair. He's got bright eyes.
He's Guy from Tales of the Abyss, voiced by Jude from Tales of Exilia.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like a JRPG protagonist. Like, he looks like if you picked the paladin class, what that would look like.
Oh yeah.
And they play into that of like you're straight laced, and like there's a moment where like he's following orders that are telling him to do bad things, and Yuri like prods at him, is like, you really are a perfect knight, aren't you?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like their two ideologies are so opposed, but like you can see that they both are like on the same side. And their relationship as this game goes on is only made better by the fact that Flynn is in your party and he gets to be a part of that.
Yeah. It was such a refreshing take on the JRPG protagonist with Yuri, and how he was kind of that vigilante, kind of Punisher, Batman-esque hero who he does the right things, and a lot of the things he does as a player I felt is like, I would want to do something like that. When he takes to try and avoid some spoilers, just in case you haven't played or you haven't gotten that far, when he takes the law into his own hands per se a couple times, I really liked that, and how Yuri kind of resigns himself that he will do this so Flint can keep his hands clean and maintain that pristine paladin, holy knight, goody. So he can do things from the front while Yuri kind of does his own stuff from behind the scenes. I've always really, really liked that.
Yeah, and like the scenes where that comes, like that later scene when like the tension between Yuri and Flynn is escalating, and Flynn's like, if I did something wrong, would you put me down? And he's like, if I had to, I would. And it's like, it's a really intense scene.
Oh, it was.
And again, like there's stuff. This is like the first ever Troy Baker game I ever played, and he crushes it.
And that's what makes it so painful, having played through the original game with only Troy Baker, having it cut in and out of Baker. It's just like, because he did such a good job. And this was before Baker was everywhere.
Yeah.
This was right before he exploded and became super voice actor.
Yeah, you think like the year he blew up was 2013 when BioShock Infinite and Last of Us came out. And then this is 2008. Yeah. Like 2007, 2008. And it's like, wow, this is years before that. When he was just a JRPG boy.
Yeah.
And he still is to some extent. So, but yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in that. I like too that Yuri, like the weight of those decisions that Yuri takes on, like really messes him up. Like he is like he isolates himself and he's in a dark place in a lot of parts of this game. And you can see that the decisions that he's made weigh really heavily on him. And that's like a thing that Flynn, who is like Yuri's best friend, knows him the best, kind of conveys to some of the other characters of like Yuri, he takes everything on himself. He always is trying to help everyone at once, and he can't do it, and he gets frustrated with himself when he fails. But he's trying to do the impossible. That's why Flynn decided to go the systematic route of like, I'm going to change the way things work, so that way, Yuri doesn't have to overextend himself like this. It's just like the way those two characters complement each other is some of the best character work I've seen in a JRPG, and it's like, I feel like it's lost in this game that so few people have played.
And the interaction between even the voice acting and work between the two was so well done. I thought it just strengthened that complex relationship
Yeah, and the thing I wasn't expecting, but I love, are like the interactions between Patty and Judy and other characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a scene when Judy and Flynn like kind of go at each other, butt heads a little bit. I'm like, this is really cool. Like this is a dynamic I didn't think about when I thought about this character joining the party, and it's really, really interesting. Or like, oh, man, I don't know how you feel about her, but I love Patty so much.
Patty I haven't gotten to the point where she's in my party permanently, but it's so weird. Whenever I hear her talking, all I hear is Mew from Tales of the Abyss.
Really? Is it the same voice actor?
It's the same voice actor. Patty's voice actor played Mew, who is the kind of cute, cuddly critter, like mascot character from Tales of the Abyss. So I think she performs it well, but I just can't get a little fire-breathing Cheagle out of my head, breathing fire on things and being thrown around by the main character.
I don't hear that. That's weird. Well, it's been a long time since I played Tales of the Abyss. It's all pretty fresh for you still.
Yeah.
So, she essentially is in love with Yuri, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's super funny every time. And I think it's a great. But like I don't know, Patty's got like a great arc too. Like I'm still in like the midpoint of her arc, but she's kind of like I don't know how it's gonna end, which is really exciting too.
Yeah.
But she's looking for. Basically, she wants to find out what happened to her grandfather or her supposed grandfather. She doesn't know for sure, but as far as she knows, she is the daughter of or granddaughter of Ifrid, this pirate who massacred like hundreds of people. It's like I want to know what's going on here. The chat are telling us that
the
spoilers
duo,
are okay.
Yeah,
but
the duo Mystic Art they're talking about with that Yuri and Flynn do.
I've not seen it yet, but I mean I've seen it like in YouTube videos, but I'm very excited to get there. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like Flynn is great, and I like the moments where he joins. I like that he kind of joins the party at the end of each act of the game, and obviously at the end of the third act, it's just he's in there forever.
Yeah.
And I like the moment where Patty joins the party because you kind of get everybody by the end of the first act, like the very last, the Gas Frost, which is the end of the first act.
Yeah, that's the first segment that Flynn joins you is Gas Frost.
Yeah, so in the original game, that's when you first have all 7 party members because Judith finally joins the party. And then Patty actually joins the party in Desier, in the Sands of Kogor, I should say. Which is that's a little bit before like the midpoint of the whole game, but that's like a little bit of a way into the second act, and it's cool because in the original game, no character really joins in the second act. So it kind of spices that part of the game up, and she plays very differently than all the other characters. But yeah, the group here, the core 7 is perfect, I think, and the 2 additional are great. And I was worried about that, but it's so far so good. Definitely
still remains one of my favorite casts from a Tales game.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite casts from a JRPG in general. It's like this and Final Fantasy 7 are like maybe my top 2. Like and obviously like Persona 4 Golden and whatnot, but like that's in a league of its own for me. But yeah, I think like the crew here is like, especially when it's 9 of them, it's like you have like a little army, it feels like, in there of superhumans.
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
Anything stood out to you, like of the new stuff, new content that they added to the definitive edition that's really stood out to you yet, Scott?
I like I've gotten to some of the additional guild stuff, and I'm very intrigued by that. Kind of going into when you're in the secret exit from the Don's area, you kind of go through the sewers kind of thing, and you see like where the guilds first formed or like that union happened scrolled on the wall. I thought that was really cool, and just the new costumes really, like I love having Cosmos Judith.
I've not messed around with any of the costumes yet, so
and stuff like that, and those I'm enjoying those, but it's just such a blast to replay. Even having just played Vesperia back in November.
Yeah, I played it
still
in
a
July,
blast.
so yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
What about you?
That scene in particular was great. There's a lot of new scenes. Like I like that when you go to Ragu's mansion, there's just like a little bit more to it. And you meet Patty and some stuff happens.
She pulls a Naruto ninja substitution thing, and you're just holding on to a doll. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, and like I like that some of the dungeons have been extended a bit. And obviously some new ones have been added. There is a moment kind of later on that's kind of like a continuation. I like also that the new scenes and new areas they're all kind of a new sub story that continues throughout the game. There's a new area before you can find the Critian city, the floating city. You have to go visit this new area, which is like this beach covered in red flowers. And that leads to like this kind of revelation about what Ifrit did and just how many people he killed, supposedly. And it's a really like somber moment. It's very quiet. There's no enemies in that whole. It's like a 20-minute section with no enemies, no fighting. It's just like kind of this very mellow, somber moment. That's like that's like when Patty's arc really starts. I feel like. Because she essentially, you go to this place where you see all these graves, and then you find a letter that says like to the folks that have died in this massacre that Ifrit was supposedly a part of, and Patty just like falls down and just like is staring at all these graves. It's a very good moment, and that's like another kind of continuation of some of the stuff that you saw. So yeah, I like it's little stuff too.
Yeah.
The skits that flesh out kind of what's going on at any given time. There are like new lines of dialogue that kind of just explain things a little bit better. Like at one point, as soon as the second act starts, Judy just is like following you, and she joins the group. And they just kind of go with it. And they added a couple lines of dialogue saying like, "Why are you here?" And it's like, "Oh, I was here for this thing. I'll come along with you." And it's like, oh, okay, like just a little bit of fleshing things out. Yeah, that goes a long way. So, also there's new arts, there's new special abilities.
Everyone gets a second mystic, I believe.
Yes, I think there's like a special 2 skill in the skills list that kind of continues that. There are new skills, there's new weapons. A lot of it's jam packed with stuff. With new stuff.
You can retry secret missions without having to fucking restart a game.
How do you do that?
It's at a location. You pay coins and then you can replay boss fights specifically to get those.
Oh. I mean, I've been doing all the secret missions, but I've just been reloading if I fuck it up. Like the good old days.
Yeah,
yeah, secret missions. Secret missions is still maybe the coolest thing in a JRPG, but boy howdy are some of them very difficult.
They are still a pain.
I'm coming up on the infamous one. I think it was Secret Mission 17.
Which one was that?
It's the one.
I'm on the list.
It's the Jaeger one. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's 18.
18, okay. It's the one. I guess it's 17 in the original, but they had the new boss fight in this one. That makes that 18. Oh yeah, that's I found a new trick to doing that one the last time I played. There are different ones that give me different trouble. The first one that always gave me trouble was the second Zagi fight on the boat where you have to knock him off. God, there's a trick to doing that. It works every time though, which is if you do like
over limit when he's up in the air by the end.
That's what I did originally. And that was hit or miss. That like barely worked for me. But this one works every single time. There's like Yuri has an art called Fang Strike where he hits down and then knocks people up. If you do that into Crushing Eagle, that thing where he slams his sword in the ground, knocks him off the boat 100% of the time. That's an Alpfighter pro tip, and you can take that one in the bank.
There you go. And it's Nam Kambata when you can retry the secret missions. You talk to Cow Kid. And for 300 chips per boss, you can retry every single secret mission.
That makes sense.
So,
Now I'm gonna ask you this: I've always said Namco Band Island because that's the bit, right?
yeah, that make. Well, it's split up Nam and then Cobanda. Okay,
They make it very difficult. But
you're probably right. Yeah, that's for sure right.
I didn't put that together until the most recent time I played it, where I'm like, oh, it's an island. Namco Band Islands makes sense now. That's a good bit.
You're clever.
I love the Tales games have like this very weird running gag of like this fourth wall breaking island full of mini games that is a reference to the publisher of the game. I love it.
I love how that is one thing that the Tales series I think has always done really well. Even in Vesperia, where it's definitively the darkest Tales game, they find ways to lighten the mood and kind of poke fun at things and just do fun, silly things. So,
yeah. I'm trying to think. There was something I said I was going to come back to later, but I totally forgot what it was. Chad, do you remember? Let me know if you remember.
Combat skills.
Skills, maybe. I did want to talk about skills. Or yeah, we were going to talk about combat just in general. The line of the combat, how it evolves, kind of by the end of that game, very good. And it's all like the skills that they give you. Like everyone, what I like about this game is everyone evolves through combat in a totally different way. Like, you know, Rita has like things to cast her spells, skills to cast her spells faster, and evolve her spells. That you can link spells into one another, like stuff that you can't do at the beginning of the game that you can by the end of that game. As much as like Yuri obviously has all of the super chain skills that essentially just lets him cancel any art into any other art, so he can just combo infinitely. And it's awesome.
Watching combo videos for this game, like, it's nuts because equip like the minimum damage, so you only do 1 damage per strike, and for grade farming and whatnot, it's nuts.
Yeah, because I have like a trio. I don't know if you have like a set of skills that you like to use, but like when I'm in my combo mood, I do Shining Fang, which is his little spinning sword, Dragon Storm, which is his like left to right kind of spin. He spins his body and he's like throwing his sword up. It's a very cool attack. And then Shining Fang Drop, which is one of the altered versions of Shining Fang. So I'm canceling between all of those because they do a lot of hits. Yuri gets a sub weapon later on that has 3 skills: hypertension again, hypertension like the third one, which basically means depending if you hit this number hit combo, you will go into overlimit without having to go into overlimit. And essentially from there you do the Shining Fang combo enough to go into overlimit, keep going in overlimit because all of your stuff cancels into each other, and then keep going until you do your burst art and then do your mystic art. And it's like perfect every time. It's great. You can do that by the end of the game and it feels so good.
Yeah. I remember grade farming on the 360 version and just spamming Rita's overlimit 3 or 4 where it's like instantaneous tidal wave where she just says blah 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 and it's just crazy water and you just keep spamming that. And
somebody asked what's your best combo you've ever hit. I think I did. There's one for like doing 200 hit combo and I did that. I think I did the tidal wave thing though.
Yeah, I probably maxed out some cheap way the counter. I probably got over 1,000 at some point.
My best legit combo, I think it's between 160 and 180, and that's like doing the Yuri attack thing. And that's partly because like you get a thing with his mystic art later on that lets you add more hits to that combo. But it's really cool, that hypertension skill, because when he does his mystic art, he always does a minimum of 28 hits. So by the time you end his mystic art, he's always in overlimit level 1. And it's like, oh, perfect. This game is great. This game is so good. Yeah, I love all the skills. I love how those characters evolve so much throughout that game.
Who's your main party? Like, who are your main four? Who are your main four in the 360 version, and who are your main ones in this version?
I switch it up all the time, which is a thing that I found that I do that no one else does in JRPGs. Like, I found out that my co-host Brian Albishin Jackson on IPP, and many other people like in Persona 4 Golden, just played with your character Yusuke, Chie, and Yukiko, and I was like, I was constantly changing my party, and I imagine these games would be so much less interesting if you didn't like always switch it up. So I'm always moving things around. I like everybody, honestly. Patty is like a very weird dynamic. She's very weird.
Yeah.
Like all of her attacks are super weird. And a lot of them give you money, which is also funny. But I would say currently on this version, I like Yuri and Flynn. Whatever I'm doing, I like to have both of them there. Because I only play this game as Yuri, really. Although I'm hoping by the end of it, I'll play a little bit as Flynn as well. Because he's got Demon Fang. It's just weird.
He's got the OG moves. He's
got the OG moves. Yeah, it's very good. I like Rita, and I like my four now would be like Yuri, Flynn, Rita, Estelle. My four before would be Yuri, Judy, Rita, Estelle. Like that's like my final boss four.
Yeah.
I typically like to have 2 casters and 2 attackers. Depending on the situation, I'll switch that to 3 attackers to 1 caster. I'll never do 3 casters and 1 attacker.
Yeah.
You're just asking for trouble then. But yeah, it's usually Judy because she's the best character ever. And I'm not totally in love with her. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Judgment-free zone, you know.
Yeah.
She's pretty awesome. I love her her personality and how like zero fuck she gives.
It's very good.
It's so good.
I love how little how all the female characters in this game don't give a shit. Like they are like awesome and very powerful, and they do not care. Like Rita does not give a shit about what you care about. No. And it's great. And like Carol is like very kind of nervous and very like selective and very careful about everything. And obviously like Raven is also great. There's not a bad character in this game. But yeah, I would say probably now my prime team would be like Yuri, Judy, Flynn, and Estelle. Like once I can get that going, that might be like my final boss team, depending.
Yeah.
What about you?
In the original playthrough, it was Yuri, Rapide, Rita, Estelle. I love Knife Dog Boy.
He's very good.
He's just the best boy. But this time, Yuri, Flynn, Estelle, and probably Rita. Because I like heals.
Yeah, you need the heals.
I need the heals.
This is the kind of game where you take a lot of damage. So
I might swap out Yuri for Flynn, and then maybe do Flynn, Judy, Rita, Estelle.
That's what I'm thinking I might do as well.
Because when I was in Gassifrost, and you get Flynn, I immediately switched to him, and it was a lot of fun playing as Flynn, and using like all the old like the Tails staple moves, because Flynn is your typical single sword wielding Tails protagonist. So it was fun to have all those old moves.
He's your Mila, your Luke, your Lloyd. He's your guy.
Your Cress or Kless, depending on which localizations you've read.
Yeah.
So
depending on whether or not they switch the L and R like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
I have not. I played a little bit of Flynn when I got him at Gasfrost. I just did the Heracles, so I should have played more of him there, but I did not. But I am also in that camp of like I'd like to play. Flynn is like he's a little bit more sluggish than Yuri, but he's got the moves like you said, and he's still a sword fighter. So ultimately, he feels kind of like a Tails protagonist.
Oh, very much so.
I don't know
Very much.
his combo potential. That's my only concern.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, he could do just as well as Yuri because he can get all the same skills because they use the same weapons
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. But I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see.
I'm trying to think any other big hits we haven't covered. A thing that like so I've talked to you a
Duke
little
is
bit
still probably my favorite antagonist
yeah, anti-hero for sure.
of I love Duke.
Duke is the GOAT.
He's
I was gonna bring up Duke as well, but yeah, he's so good. I love too that. So I don't know. Are you using that side quest guide that I sent you?
I am not.
Okay. It's very good because the side quests in this game are very obtuse, which I appreciate.
Very
but-
timed.
Yes, very much like old school JRPG timed, like PS1 era. I feel, and they're very good. There's a running side quest with Duke that doesn't pay out anything. Like you don't get anything from it, but you get to know his character a lot more.
Yeah.
And they're also all those side quest bits are voice acted, which is cool because Duke's voice is awesome.
Yeah.
You want to talk about maybe the best voice in the game is Duke's voice.
Yeah.
But
I still don't think his voice matches like his character design, but it's still so good.
I kind of love it. I think it does. I get the vibe that he's just like this very solemn, quiet, powerful individual.
Yeah.
So basically, you run into him. The first time you run into him is at Dayton Hold on the Archway, and then you'll run into him at not Heliord. What's the broken city? Do you remember the name of the destroyed city that was killed? But yeah, that watery, like rainy city that's been destroyed by the earthquake. You run into him there, and he's like examining that Blastia that was keeping Lucius under control. So you kind of meet him at different interstitial parts of the game.
Yeah, you also can meet him at Dongrest after I'm blanking on his name. Pharaoh attacks Dongrest. If you
I
go
totally forgot to do that.
back into Dongrest, you'll see Duke on the broken bridge and have a little scene.
I totally forgot to do that. That's the one thing I missed. Shit. But and it's not like you don't, like I said, you don't get anything. You don't miss the next scene if you miss one of those interstitial scenes. But it's really cool. Like he is present throughout that whole game, even if you only run into him in the main story like a handful of times before the final act. And it's very cool. He's also very pretty. I just want to say that Duke is very pretty. That anime opening when you see like his little curl over his eye, you're like, you're a pretty boy. The thing I wanted to bring up that I've talked to you a little bit about, Scott, is just how, and it's kind of like what you were saying of like this is the best of the old Tales games. It is very much an old kind of JRPG. Like they don't make them like this anymore. I'm gonna get on my old man stump again real quick.
Back in my day,
there are no games where you walk around a world map anymore. It just doesn't exist, and it's done so perfectly in this game. Like when the Ni no Kuni 2 had a world map, I was so excited, and then that game turned out to be kind of a bummer. But it's really great how like this brings in all of these old style things like the world map and the secrets on the world map, and I don't know, just like little stuff like that. The way exploration works, the way you get an airship and it's like a big moment and you can then go do backtracking, like the way it's paced out, the way you run into enemies on the world map, the way that there's those little things that you can
gathering points.
Yeah, the gathering points, the way synthesis works in this game and the way grinding for synthesis items works, and the way that it comes back at the end when like the whole world opens up to you and you can finally get like these rare synthesis materials and make these really rare items. It's just like those
ultimate
kind of
weapons, like ultimate weapons.
Yeah, and like a side quest with the ultimate weapons that leads to a new final boss. Like, it's very good.
It's pretty nuts.
It's just like those kind of like old school things are just, I feel, not present in games like even Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy now. Like Final Fantasy 15, I think got there, especially like with the Royal Edition stuff. I feel like they kind of put that end game secret stuff in the game in a way it wasn't in there originally. But like getting around the world feels a little bit different. It feels more like a Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah.
Like it feels more like a modern Western open world than like an old Eastern open world where you're walking around a big map.
There's something special, and maybe it's because we did grow up in a different time, but there's something special about being like a little person walking around a big world with little towns you go into. And
yeah, it's my thesis on it is that that sense of scale is what makes the stakes at the end of the game matter, right? Like when we're at the end of the game and it's kind of like this kind of make or break, all or nothing, the world is going to end or not situation. Like I've been to every single part of this world. I've seen everything it has to offer, and I now genuinely give a shit about it. And I want to save Terra Lumerez. I don't. Yeah. I'm not like a passerby. I have explored. I've fleshed out this world in every way I could. And I think that there is something to like getting to the end of that 70+ hour journey and like caring about the world.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the message and what they're going through in some ways in Vesperia mirrors what's going on right now with the whole energy debate.
Yeah.
In clean energy versus old school stuff, just because it's there. And
yeah, it is very much like there's a great message in this game about it is telling to me. I had this revelation when I was playing it earlier of like, oh, you know, this is probably why this is my favorite Tales game, because it is the most like Final Fantasy VII of like this. We are killing this planet and we need to stop. Like
drastic measures have to be taken, otherwise we're all royally screwed.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about the end of this game, without necessarily spoiling it, is like things got to change. Like the end of this game is like we're changing things for everyone forever, and we're not able to kind of like get an okay of that with everyone. We did our best, but we have to do this.
Yeah,
like we have.
Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, like we have to let go of this old system because otherwise we all die.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little bit more melodramatic and a a little bit more higher
anime-y, and
there's
some hard to pronounce words and
somebody says
names.
Entelekea at some point, and you're like, why does that have an X in it? But like, yeah, there's a good, powerful message in this game,
and the story is good. I feel from beginning to end.
It's a good ride, and like
there's some good character development and like progression in their character and their depth, and you see them changing as you go. It's very good,
and it's fun watching this group kind of become a family because like at the very beginning of the game, especially like in the first act, there's a whole lot of like, well, I'll go here because you're going here, and I guess it'll work out. It's fine. And it's like this kind of reluctance to just admit that they like being around each other. And then by the end of the game, they're like, we're all ride or die. Like we're going into this together, and we're sticking together because we care about each other. And it's like it's just a nice feeling. It feels very earned by the end of it.
Completely agree.
Anything else we want to talk about?
No. What would your rating be? What would you give this?
I probably would have given it like a 9.0 when it came out. I probably would still give it a 9.0.
Yeah.
I think it holds up.
Oh, yeah. I would do 9.0 as well. Even in today's standards, and even surpassing a lot of modern RPGs these days, I think it knocks so many things out of the park and does things so very well. Honestly, the only negative I can really say about this game is just the hodgepodge patchwork they did. Yeah. With the new voices, the new voice acting. That's really the only negative critique I really have about this game.
There's an argument to say that like when the game starts, the combat is kind of boring, like just because you don't have a lot of stuff unlocked. But again, it's very intentional because when you reach that midpoint where you get like fatal strikes and stuff like that, and then the end where you're combo chaining everything together and switching between characters because you know all these characters so well, stuff like that. I think it more than makes up for it.
Yeah. Plus, I think we've had a lot of RPGs since this game came out that do the whole setting up things a lot worse. Final Fantasy 13, for example, where the setup to unlock things or get control over things
jumped on you.
it's like, this is like happens in a blink of the eye kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, I think we should perhaps move on to the giveaway.
Yeah, we have a copy of this game to give away.
It's the PS4 version, so So what I did is everyone that entered, I entered into a spreadsheet. And each one of those has a number assigned to them, and I'm going to use a random number generator to generate a number, and that will pick whoever is the winner. So
totally random, no favoritism here.
I'll even bring it up on camera so it's all kosher.
Yeah, please keep your beef and cheese away from each other.
True story. Screen capture right. Okay, we'll transition.
I'm watching.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be all good. Okay. Right. This is 1 second, everybody. I need to adjust this.
There's a rough crop on that one.
Yeah, this is from the whatchamacallit, the Game of the Year, because I had it cropped to.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yep. Shout out to the folks that entered on Reddit.
Yes.
Thanks all. Thanks everybody who entered.
Yes, thank you who has shared your memories and your thoughts and all the stuff you love about these games, and for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. We hope you've enjoyed it. So
if you like this, we have other shows like it.
Yes.
There'll be an audio archive of this.
Yep, and this will be archived as well on here. Might do some edits to it, just for, like throw in some gameplay footage and little things like that. But otherwise, this will for sure be here. So as you can see on the right, you have the list of the entrants. And on here, on the left, you will see the number generator. So we have 9 entrants. So we will do that. We will generate number 3. Taking on water, the bearded child from Reddit. Are you in here?
Are you watching?
I remember you stopping in. I know you've been chatting. I don't know if you're still in here though. But if you're not, I will be sending you a message on through YouTube, and you will have 48 hours to get back to us. And if you get back to us, we'll send you the code. If not, we will go ahead and repick another person from this group. But thank you again, everybody, so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We're actually going to be moving here shortly over to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Irrational Passions, and we're going to do a live reaction stream of the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, our non-weeb friend Mike will be joining us.
Yes. So we'll be doing that, but that starts in about 5-10 minutes. We'll go up a little live before
Nintendo gets started.
Yep. And we'll go from there. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast talking Tales with you and hearing all about your memories and your RPG favorite characters, all that good stuff. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow us on Twitter @IrrationalPod. You can also follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/IrrationalPassions. We're on irrationalpassions.com. That's where we post all of our articles. We also have a Discord if you want to be part of the official Irrational Passions community. Join over there. The link is on the screen, or there will be a link in the description of this video once it gets archived. So check back with that if you'd like. But yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yep. I clicked off. Oh, your camera's disappeared.
My video froze. I don't know why. But thank you. I'm sorry, I'm a ghost, but thank you, Scott, for hosting and talking Tales with me.
Oh.
This has been so much fun.
Well, Tales is what brought us together, my friend. So this has been a blast. It's been a lot of fun, and yeah, we'll see you all shortly, hopefully over at Twitch. And until then, everybody, have a good one.
Bye. I'm sorry I turned into a ghost.